Hey, thanks everyone for watching. I'm back.
Okay, so many questions. So many questions. A lot. A lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So first of all the locations were there in LA.
No, so the entire series. Oh, hi. By the way, I'm Scott Brown. If you don't know, I'm the director of the Diamond Rose.
Hi, I'm
So sorry for that.
executive producer.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So we shot in Mexico City. We are in a strategic partnership with Eugenio Derbez and Ben Odell's Tripas Studios, and we went down there because ultimately it's really about the locations. Actually, down in Mexico City, like that mansion at the end with the double staircase and the beautiful red walls and everything was a truly a fraction of what it would cost in Los Angeles. Absolutely, and that's really what helped us be able to do that.
It's awesome. See, whenever you need something, everything is possible, right? Especially in the cinema. Alrighty. So
Does my mic work, by the way?
Oh yeah.
how many
Oh, okay.
how many days did it take for everything to film?
Sure. I don't know if my mic works right now, but I'll just kind of talk. We shot in 7 days. Thank you. We shot in 7 days in Mexico City. We had a really wonderful crew. Our cast was so committed. I had a few extra wrinkles on my forehead when I got back to LA. I needed my Botox lady, but it was a really great time. We were just moving fast and really, really committed to the story. And so 7 days seems fast, and it is, but we did it. So.
Stunts. There was a lot of stunts in the piece.
Mhm.
How did you manage to film everything? Because it's hard, and the horizontal is it's much easier to see everything that is happening. And then in the vertical, I was curious how it will happen. And actually, I saw everything that I needed to see. So how hard it was? What was the hardest part, maybe?
So I've almost been pleasantly surprised at people being like, "Oh wow, there were stunts in that," because on the day there weren't really, like, we took everything very slowly. Like if you had watched it, you'd be like, "This is never going to work." But because I am an editor, like I wasn't the editor, but I definitely got behind the mouse for several dozen hours at one point. I shot for the edit of it, and if you rewatch that sequence, I think you'll actually see that it's told in very small pieces. So like I guess technically I was the stunt coordinator, but no one like took a fall, no one had a hard hit. The punches were really far apart, but with the angles we shot in, and we're using like a high shutter speed, we're moving the camera a lot to obfuscate the fact that we're not doing like real stunts on the day. It really lived in the edit, and I think it shows that there's always a creative workaround to achieve what you want, even if you don't have the resources to do it the quote unquote right way.
Makes sense. And as we spoke before, I enjoyed a lot that there was changing of the frames that we had. The headshots, the food. Oh my God, it was beautiful. There is a question from the audience as well. What was the writing and development process like on this film?
You want to talk about that?
Sure. Yeah, of course. So we had a really talented writer join us, Elise Murray, who'd written romance novels, Lifetime movies, things like that. And so she had certainly worked in the romance space before. And this was her first vertical, and this was our first vertical as well. So the idea, the treatment, and the development came from Scott's brain and our end, and then a writer joined in order to get the episodic outline and then go into scripting phase and the pacing and everything. I think when it comes to writing, these are deceptively hard to write. Some people assume that because a format is short or an episode is only 1 minute, that it takes less time to write something, and it actually takes longer, in my opinion, and it's harder because you have to fit so much in and try to avoid, I guess, being cringe or being awkward with logic or anything like that. And so you really have to take the time to work on the outline and the pacing of everything that's going to happen before even getting the scripted phase. And so, it was just really great to work with a writer who it was their, first time as well. And we found that together. We found that voice and that tonality and that pacing together, which was, it was just a really great experience, and stressful, but really good.
Yeah, I think we did 7 drafts before we went to production, and then we went into the pre-production process, and then we ended on, I think the 7th production draft. So we were like on the yellow draft by the time it was over. So it was a lot of, and also production informed that rewriting process. You can't get a location. Okay, well, we're going to rewrite it. We don't think this is possible in this many days. Okay, we'll rewrite it. So it was a lot of, I have this belief that part of there's like jazz music and there's classical music, and jazz, one of the things people love about jazz music is that it's very extemporaneous and it's improvised. And I think that that's almost like a side effect of these, because they're made quickly. There's an extemporaneous texture in them, and I think that's one of the things the audiences like about them. It's kind of similar to YouTube.
My question just ran away from me. Well, I will go back to that in a moment. What set of skills were you looking for from the actors? Oh, and since there was only 7 times of the filming and 7 times you were editing yes, thank you. How did you manage the stress? Because again, the movie is long. The huge work was done on that. How did you manage that? Maybe you have any tips for beginners?
Well, this is a cliche. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? It was so stressful. This is really hot. Sorry. It was just really stressful, and but it's just take it one step at a time, one day at a time. Deal with the problem in front of you. Deal with the next problem. And also, I did an enormous amount of prep on this. When we look for directors, for example, I was taught in school, when you do a movie, to prepare to working with the actors, one of the things you'll do is next to every sentence of dialogue, not every block of lines, but every sentence of dialogue, you'll write a verb-based intention for the actor, because the scene should never have a repeat of the intention of the performance, right? And I wrote that for so I did a little line, and I wrote a verb that related back to the goal of the scene for every single sentence of the entire film, which was a lot of work. But that process made me, I've done it for short films and web series, and that process makes you think about the movie so much that one of the benefits is you memorize the series, and then you just think about it from so many angles and so many different ways that, I believe that preparation leads to inspiration. So when everything goes to hell on set, in your mind, you've got a toolbox of ideas that you can quickly draw upon. And I just think that is one of the things that really saved us on set, was preparation. At the end of the day, I had an answer to every question that came at us. It's like a fire hose of questions on a set like this. And you have to have, it's hard to come up with the answer if you don't have the building blocks of an answer already done in the prep. And then, you were part of the casting too. Do you want to talk about what we were looking for in the actors?
I think one, with the leads, it comes down to chemistry, of course, and we, auditions and chemistry reads and everything, and you really feel it in the room. You feel it, in their presence, and I think we just look for a vulnerability and a strength, and you look for the ability to go through that journey, because both, no matter what the story is, if it's a love story, it's usually, or it's always a journey of exposing your vulnerability and your truest self on the inside to the person that you want to connect with. And so the actor has to be able to kind of go through those emotions and go through that journey and land where you need them to land. And with verticals, you have to do that so fast that you really need to see that in the room and be able to demonstrate that. And so we took careful consideration with the sides that we wrote and with the scenes that we were auditioning with them for, to see if they could do that even within the scene. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like it took a lot of time, right? So again, 1, 2, check. How long the process of the casting was?
That's a great question. I think it was.
I would say it's about a month.
Yeah, I would say about. We're actually doing. We're doing it again right now, and we literally actually did 2 auditions while the screening was going on, just because like there's a lot that you have to do when you do these, and we did a first round audition on Zoom, and then we did a callback on Zoom, and then we did a chemistry read in person. So, and I think that chemistry read was the most illustrative of what we were looking for, because, you know, it's really the magic that occurs between 2 people that is, I think, what the audience falls in love with about these.
I do agree with you, because sometimes whenever you look on the screen, the actor might play very well, but you see that something is make him or her comfortable. So we didn't, at least me, I haven't seen it on the screen today at all. Oh my God.
Oh, good.
It
Well, and
was
you know,
very good.
also I learned about directing, working with actors on this one, is like, I used to falsely believe when I was younger that like it was my job to like fix the actors, which is very wrong. And that's me being, you know, like inexperienced. I really believe that it's not, it's also a test of my relationship with them. It's not, do I give good direction or bad? Are they a good actor or not? Sometimes it's, is the relationship that we create between each other also good? Is that, does that have a lot of chemistry? Is it the way that I direct and the way that I give feedback constructive for them? It's not the determinant, but it's certainly like in the decision process.
Got it. Thank you. I have the last question from the audience, and we will go to the audience here. Did you storyboard and shortlist extensively? What was your previous process?
Didn't really storyboard much. I kind of storyboard in my head, I think. And oh wow, this is really hot. Do you want it down maybe? Okay, cool. Thank you. Here I'll swap. Sorry, I just want to blow everyone's. I don't want to blow everyone's ears out. I storyboarded. I don't really storyboard that much unless I'm doing like a really complex visual scene. I do shot list and draft my shot list. I think again it comes to prep. It's how many times within the time that I have can I watch the movie in my head, and how much about that can I write down? I think if I was a more fine artist, I would storyboard. I think it's a very valuable process. But I also worked really with the DP to talk about a visual grammar for what we were doing. Like, what might a close-up mean in this new medium? What would a wide mean? What would we possibly cut to? And then, you know, I cook like for fun, and I look at the little bit like cooking. You write a recipe, and then you go to the grocery store, and you have to pick the best ingredients while you're at that store. But then you really make the dish when you cook it, and that's the editing process for me. So I approach this like I told all the actors. Think of your performance as giving me in the edit a paint on a palette, and I don't want 5 shades of green. I want yellow, and I want blue, and I want red. And then in the edit, I can choose. And of course, we're always coming from, you know, what is the intention? Why are you doing the choices that you're making? And what are you trying to achieve in the scene? But then make bold choices and make diverse choices within what we're constructing, right? And then in the edit, I was really surprised. And I'll even admit, maybe I went into it with a little bit of oh, well, people don't use the wide shots enough, or it really does want to live in close-ups. It really does. And I had plenty of wides, and mediums don't really ever work. Like, and it's just because they're awkward framing, and they don't say something bold about what's going on. You need to make bold choices. This is about it's about boldness and choosing things that are really sharp and expressive, and a close-up is that tool. But yeah, I just, ultimately shot list and kind of re-editing it as we went too, because you have a scene and the AD's like, you have 8 minutes to shoot this. I'm like, well, okay, we're not getting the shot list. And that's when I would also tell the actors, like many times, I mean, our cast really, really, I was so grateful to them, because many times I'd be like, hey, I'm gonna shoot this in 2 overs, and yeah, I'll get the wide, but this scene is gonna be on your mix. So please carry it for me. And they did every time.
And it looked awesome. Oh, and it looked awesome. So technically, as well as being prepared for the horizontal movie, same as like for the shooting for a horizontal movie, the same as here, you need to be just prepared and everything will work from there.
I worked as hard on this. I worked on as hard and prepared as much as Stacy, I believe, would say the same thing. The only way I could have worked harder on this project is if I had more time. So while perhaps if I were to do a studio film, I would have more time by virtue of a larger budget, I could not have worked harder. I could not have prepared more with the time that I had. It was every waking moment and then some. Every part of me is in this. Yeah.
What aspects? What aspects of the typical microdramas did you intentionally want to ignore, leave out, and in line with that, how do you want to elevate this above and beyond what has been produced until now?
So that's a great question. So I think the things that we really cared about, the pacing, like, and honestly, I think that we could have even been sharper and more retentive with the pacing in the first 20. That's something that we're going to take to the next one. We're shooting again in October. It's going to be like a pop musical, which we're really excited about, kind of a Star is Born sort of thing with original songs. It's hard to answer that question. I'm not trying to dodge it. It's more about how I think we approached it with just a lot of respect and a belief that the audience is really smart. I think sometimes, I'm not trying to target anyone, there's sort of this belief like, oh, they'll watch whatever we give them. And maybe, I don't know, maybe that's true. I don't see the back ends of every app, but I don't believe that. I think the audience is smart. I think they care a lot. We've met so many of the fans of these wonderful, passionate, incredible, intelligent people. And I think they deserve better. So it's like, it was more like, I worked in a lot of YouTube, and YouTube is really a retention-based. Retention, I think, is probably the most important word in YouTube. So I watch microdramas, and I'm like, what from a retention perspective are they doing? What are they doing from a re-engagement perspective of that attention? But like, I would tell the actors, I'm not going to tell you to be big. That's not a good direction to give. But I want you to always, within your instincts, allow yourself, to whatever degree you can within the methods and tools you've been taught, gravitate to the bolder choices of those instincts. I want you to be, and it comes back to the edit, right? I want you to know, and I said this to every single actor. I said, you can come right before I picture lock. And I said this to every actor I've ever worked with. You can come and watch this with me before I picture lock, and I can't change anything. And if you say to me, hey, I think that's a bad performance, I think I'm too big, or I'm too, whatever you think, you can come and we can, I don't know if I'll cut it, but we'll have a discussion about that, and I will listen to you, and I promise you that. I think that gives people the freedom, especially in this medium, where sometimes I think actors sometimes use they use pen names, they hide who they are sometimes, like, and crew doesn't want their name on it. So I'm like, that's not what we're trying to do. And every actor, most of the actors took me that, and we didn't get a single note from them. No one wanted to cut anything. But it's that trust, I think, that ends up on screen too. So it's like what I wanted to transpose all the things we love about movies and TV, but just into a medium that wants it to be faster, especially as 20, and wants really bold, big emotional choices. But I think the most important thing is to have a respect for the audience, because at the end of the day, if you want to get just business about it, that will be a competitive advantage moving forward.
Hi. So I have a question for you, because clearly you come from more traditional background going into this medium. As far as your prep is considered, is there anything that you feel is helpful to do for this medium that you would do specifically for it, as opposed to the other ones like web series, short films? Or do you just feel it's more intense faster?
Oh yeah. Okay. I think it comes back. So I would just make sure you watch a lot. because I do think there's a grammar to these. Absolutely. It's like yes and no. But remember, I also come from YouTube, which now is like the traditional medium, but like wasn't for a really long time. And I've literally watched it evolve, right? So I think it's just bring beginner's mind to this. Like, as much as I've done things and I've directed hundreds of hours, most of it unscripted, but I've directed hundreds of hours of stuff. Just come, like, I sort of like I look up to Sidney Lumet, who, you know, he's not Wes Anderson. You can't, it's hard, if you don't really know his work, it's hard to look at a movie by him and say, oh, that's certainly, without a doubt, immediately a Sidney Lumet film, right? He talks about in his book, Making Movies, how he just approaches every script and serves the page and the text. And so that's something that has always resonated with me. I've done musicals about sororities. I've taught thrillers in my independent work. I've crashed a train into a giant hole for Mr. Beast. Like, and every time I'm like, what is the text of this want, even if it's unscripted? And so it's like, I think it's more about making sure the writing is something that I was excited about. And once I was excited about the writing, then I took it an approach. I think that the production process is the least different. I think the writing process is very, very different. And I think the writing demands, Stacey said it really well, it's deceptively hard. And then I think the editing process is just as different, because I think editing is really a writing process, just with images instead of words. But physical production itself was not that different.
And Scott says something a lot that I really like, is that you write a movie 3 times. You write it when you write it, you write it when you shoot it, you write it when you edit it. And so, when it comes to prep, the development part of it, we approach it just as we would any feature film, indie film, any other project. We approach it with passion and with commitment. But I think with the prep, especially within the writing, if you know what you're making, you know what you're getting into, it then informs the rest of the process and informs all the decisions that you make as a team, from your line producer to your writer to your DP to everything that is you're trying to achieve. And so having a really clear and distinct vision, and at every stage of the production process all the way to post, you know what it is you're trying to achieve, then you have that cohesive vision that you all get to. So I think prep is just, you know what you want to do and you stick to it and you don't deviate from it.
Except when you do, except when the location changes at 8 a.m. and you're like, okay, this takes place in this location now. All right. And then that's part of and again, I really think that is something that is part of these. I think for lack of the extemporaneous quality that the production process creates in these is a feature that people gravitate towards. I think it makes them different. And that's what people currently like. It's really exciting. I have never been more excited in my entire career about anything in this industry. And today is the most excited I've ever been.
Good afternoon.
Please.
So you've said that this was your first vertical.
Mhm.
It was also Jasmine's first vertical, and if the IMDb's are correct, it was Michelle, Jack, and Laura's first verticals. Obviously, it was not Jackson's first vertical.
It was not.
Was that by design?
No.
No.
No. So we just cast the people every single time. I just try to cast the people that make the most sense with whatever version of the movie me and the team have in our heads at that time. And whatever choice we make in that casting has to become the right choice, right? But no, that wasn't by design at all. We auditioned many different people from the vertical world, and they had every bit of a chance to get that as different people actually got really close. But at the end of the day, it's really an ensemble choice that you have to make a lot of the time. It's not about each individual performance. It's who is right for the part. But no, that was while I'm not gonna lie, I was aware of who was big in vertical and who wasn't. To the best that I could, not making that a determining factor was how we cast
How about
it.
the rest of the creative team, like the cameraman, was it all their first vertical, or did you have some experienced people?
So in the crew, it was mixed. It was the DP had been doing. I mean, it's also like that line of have you done vertical, like have you not? Because while I think we're at this festival, we're generally here for this event. We're here for something that has the name of like micro drama, short drama right now. There's so many different, great story can live on many different screens and many different formats. And we had a mix on the crew.
Okay, just one follow-up
please, yeah.
question. Did it change your approach any? Like, did you approach it as this is a chance to kind of do the vertical different? Or let me try and do vertical the same as they're doing it, like my way. You know what I mean? Like, or reinvent the space.
That's a great question. We definitely said, well, why don't you, I think you should say something too.
I mean, I think, here, I can just use some. Okay. I mean, I think in the approach, we wanted the DNA of verticals to be there. And we also want to be open to what other, creatives and crew and everything can bring to the table. And I think that through collaboration comes a lot of really beautiful things. And so, whether it was how to light a scene, how to shoot a scene, how to even act a scene, everybody brought what they wanted to the table. And then we all arrived on really excited by and intrigued by and proud of. And so I think it's a very collaborative process. And I think that having a mixture of different kinds of experiences and different kind of lenses you look through on set can, affect how you approach something and where you land. So I do think that it was, I think it influenced a lot of what we did, and we were really proud of it.
Yeah, and as I think about what I want to say here, it's like, and I'm just speaking for myself. I swear I'm just speaking for myself right now. But when I set out to make this, and as Second Rodeo, our company, starts to, look at making more of these and making ones that I won't be directing and Stacey won't be producing, I think about I think about what was really the thing that I asked myself every step of the way. I asked myself I'm like, I'm going to make a vertical. Absolutely. I want to follow in the same way that I've elevated YouTube, right? Like, so for example, when I ran The Rock's YouTube channel, I was the executive producer, lead writer, and director there. And when I started, everyone's like, oh my God, Dwayne's coming to YouTube. This is going to be crazy. I had never worked with Dwayne. I'm like, I don't think he should just vlog, because at the time that was the #1 thing you could do in 2016 is vlog on YouTube. I'm like, I don't think he wants to do that. I also think the audience would like to see from him something that just kind of like elevates that medium, elevates that format, right? So, and we did it, and it was successful. And so when I did this, I was like, I want to elevate this. How am I going to elevate this? Well, I'm just going to, and I'm not saying that other people don't do this. I'm just going to make sure that me and the team, every moment we can and everything we do, we're proud of the work that we do. That whatever, I told the actors this, I told the crew this, I told everyone this. Just make sure you're proud of what you're doing. And if you're not for some reason, make sure I'm the first to know. And because I think the way you make something ends up on the screen. I think the way the crew feels ends up on the screen, and definitely informs the choices you make. That is what ends up on the screen. So I didn't go to it like, oh, I'm going to fix something. That's not how it ever works well. It's how can I just take this thing that people love? And I also read a lot of comments from fans. Like I read comments for a living, basically. And like, I wanted to make sure that I understood what the fans love about this, because at the end of the day, we're doing it for someone else. We're doing it to hopefully bring some light to the corner of their lives. And I wanted to make sure that I was giving them something that they would love too, through the lens of something that I was proud of. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah.
Glad yours. Mine was stolen. So open eyes, open ears, open heart, and everything is possible. We are in the cinema industry, so just move on. Don't be afraid. There was so many offers already within this 3 days that sounded here, so just move forward. Thank you so much, guys, for the Q&A. Thank you for the movie. It was really great. And is there anything?
Well, thank you all for being here. And just like, we truly believe great ideas can come from anywhere. So whether it's talking to me today at this event or messaging us on LinkedIn, or, we want to work, we want to make cool stuff with everyone who wants to make it with us.
Yay. Woo! Thank you. Why? Wow. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, guys, and see you. Quick, brief break. Thank you.
took
think that it can be a great tool and source for speed and efficiency. I think that in the future, creatives that do utilize technology may be a step ahead of creatives that don't, but there should always be a human being involved in creativity, because we as a species for thousands of years have told stories around the campfire and looked to the heavens and said, why are we, who are we, what are we? And so with the emergence of different technologies, you always want to try to have a heart and soul involved in it, but using it for efficiency with what we can do, I think is really beneficial, and I think is part of our future.
Thank you. Anina?
So I think first we need to define, in what area will AI be used. If we're talking about pre-production, automation, of course, it's already helped so many people now. I mean, I fully use it for my social media to everything to, automating bill paying, etc. If we're talking about video, then again, this can help specifically the short drama industry to expand their genre, right? Those epic wide shots of 6 helicopters, doing a chase scene just are unaffordable at this point in time on a short drama budget, but totally doable and convincingly so using AI video, right? And then if we talk about AI agents, and there are apps that are now out that are the characters in the synthetic, let's call them synthetic human AI dramas, that gives users the opportunity to actually talk with the main characters in these synthetic AI dramas, which gives another layer to it that I, as an actress, for example, don't have the opportunity in the app to chat with the fans. And that opportunity for the fans is a very special experience. So having this type of AI agent is also helpful in terms of creating connection to the story and wider storytelling. So I think we really have to look at where AI is applied and then how it's applied. But I think across the board in the areas that I mentioned, extremely helpful and really a unique experience.
Thank you.
Hi there. I'm very new to the short drama world, but my place in all this is I co-founded a community called Machine Cinema. We're based in LA, and we are a collective now of about 2,000 artists and builders and technologists globally. We're big fans of Higgsfield. So my perspective on this is really from, I come from 20 years of film and TV working without AI. So I'm experiencing the shift on a personal level. But I'm also doing a lot of leaning in. I've been educating myself and now educating and consulting, and by extension of working in that community. And I always see these things in threes. First of all, I think we're past the stage of these being NFTs. Like, I don't think this is like, I wonder if it's a fad. And I think to that point, I think everybody's level needs to be to upskill and just start driving cars and riding horses to work. So I think that's like a level one of whether you're afraid of it, whether it's going to hurt anything. You just need to get to your level of acceptance. It's not some like resistance is futile type energy. I just think it's like you can start finding ways that this works for you. And I think most people are finding that. What happens immediately, especially for people in creative industries, is you discover this new relationship with creative sources. And for anybody like Jay, people like us, we've been making TV shows and knowing timelines, horizons, how much it costs to hire camera people for a long time. Your relationship with that gravity is gone, and you're building a new one. And that starts to change your creativity. That actually starts to change the way you interact with making something and experimenting with it and iterating in it. While we're still waiting for consistency and the hallucinations to go away, or lawsuits to go away, or all the things that have been a bit of a brake pedal on the mass adoption, people are at least getting to try stuff and iterate and experiment. And I do think that's probably the most relevant adaptation already. Is like your development room can be a lot more interesting. But I do think the third tier, which I do think we're starting to see, is how does this start to create new types of possibilities? Whether it's the personalization narrative that you may start to get to watch your own version of that show because your data says you like this character or you like that storyline. That type of thinking, that things, because of those creative resources moving differently, is available. That's to actually change new ecosystems of products that we might create. And the UX of short dramas, the experience of, like, it's just so well designed for the type of creative energy I feel every day in our community that I think it really excites me to be in a place like this where we're all kind of starting to figure out where that's going to go.
Thank you.
Hello everyone. My name is Max. I'm executive producer in Hicksfield, one of the biggest AI platforms that help you to generate your photos and videos. And I'm a real filmmaker with like more than 20 years of experience. And to be honest, I was pretty skeptical about AI till the April, till the Hicksfield launched the platform, until my friends who launched it, they was just begging me to check it out. And I'm like, oh, we're doing real stuff. That's AI, it's not capable. But when I spend like first 2 hours, my mind explodes, because the Hicksfield start with the camera control. And it's the very first thing that need any creator. And it's not the question like when everyone start using AI. It's about how are you using AI, because all of you probably already using like ChatGPT, and from the very beginning, like everyone was scared. The same would be with the video. Like I'm old enough to remember 2000s when the first digital cameras came out, you know, and everyone like was super against. Like they were telling that film is forever with us, that film is best, and after 25 years, like 99.9% is digital made. The same will happen with AI. And just remember, like a year ago, we had this awful video of Will Smith where he had this 6 fingers spaghetti, and it was a year ago. Nowadays, I can kind of tell you that a lot of UGC content that you're scrolling in your social network already 100% AI generated. Like it will start showing more and more. The technology evolves really fast. Even us, like a technology provider, we're getting amazed like every like week or two. And the future will be with AI for sure. And it's all about how you will be able to integrate it in your pipelines, how you kind of know how to use it best, and all about the practice, just to understand and how it works, to understand what it can deliver. Because we are able to do the consistency of the character for like half a year already. It wasn't public, but it was available for our kind of partners, and now it's public. And now like every couple of weeks, some of the biggest providers of the technology, they're dropping new releases, and the speed of evolving is like pretty fast. So I kind of encourage you just to test it out, to figure out what's possible, what's not. And like, on my opinion, even combining real filming footage with AI, what we already done dozens of times, will help you to get more, you know, it will help you to, I don't know, get options, get more shots for A/B testing, because after the shot is done, you can get more footage. But with AI, you can get more. It will help you with I don't know, macro shots. It will help you with wide shots. It will help you with VFX. To be honest, a lot of post-production studios who are working on a huge feature films nowadays, they're all using AI, but they just don't announce it because it's the time of the integration of the technology. Like half a year ago, you will start telling that, have you all watched the Studio TV series? It's amazing, 11 Emmys, and or even more. Yeah, and there are episodes when they're starting telling about AI, and there are like tomatoes flies on the scene. That's what we kind of experienced like half a year ago. Nowadays, all the studios like, okay, we were able to cut our costs. We were able to cut our time of production. We were able to do this and that. And a lot of kind of, but studios, big studios, like they're slow. They have their timeline of the production. They already have like budget assigned, people like stars attached, and they can switch in a day, but they all will be there in a year, So if you run in verticals, you have more opportunity. You should be more adaptive. You should try to use everything that technology provides you to get best from it. Yeah.
Sounds a little scary, but yes, be open, know what you need the AI for, and then learn. Thank you so much, Max. Sampath, do you hear us?
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we have been discussing that AI is the future and how can we integrate all of that into our current scheme of filmmaking. But I've been a filmmaker for almost 15 years now, and for first time in my life, I've been feeling so liberating when it comes to AI, right? The kind of things that I can do, the kind of stories that I can tell using AI. In a conventional form, it would have taken me an army to do it, a huge budget to sort of put it together. But now I think with generative AI and with the kind of work and the consistency that we are still getting, like it's still in a stage where it's almost there. We are able to make some really good stuff out of it, and I think it's very liberating for artists like me to really embrace the whole technology and tell stories that were keeping us back, right? It was there was a time where I could not think bigger, or I could not think, because I was always thinking that how will I mount this story, or how will I attend this particular scale. But now with AI, it's become I just feel very free when it comes to making these stories. And I've done two micro dramas which are based out of which are completely AI native. And the kind of results that I'm getting, the kind of love that I'm getting for both these shows are incredible. So I think more than anything else, it's about expanding our thinking horizon, the way we think, the way we have been thinking about content, the way we have stopped ourselves or limited ourselves from the kind of things that we want to make. AI just liberates it. It's now about thinking bigger, better, and being more open to creativity. So I think it's a great way to embrace new technology. The other thing also is that AI is not just creating stuff. Like, for example, we have a marketing agent that is AI generated, that's native AI. Then there are various things, the distribution, all of that is also being covered in that whole AI spectrum. So I run a solo studio called the Pulp House. I've been writing, directing, editing all for myself. Marketing, sales, everything is handled by me and the AI agents that I've created. So I think for that way, it's a very, very, for me, the only word that I can think of right now is liberating. It's really liberating all of us to tell stories that we need to tell.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So the ice is pretty thin between what we can let AI do for us, right? Because when will be moment when everything will be shot for us, right? So nobody will be needed except AI. Where we can stop so we still have something to do?
I have an answer. So first of all, I don't think that we will reach to the stage where humans are no longer acting. First of all, how many people here have ever tried to generate a AI video? Please raise your hand. Okay, great. So I'm sure that you know that a human being has many different ways to cry, right? There are hundreds of ways to cry, right? There are hundreds of ways to express emotions. But AI itself is very limited and trained on, let's say, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 different ways to cry. And it can't possibly, at this stage, cry in all the different emotions and ways that humans can. The same thing, like you can say, it's snowing. Well, what kind of snow? In Finland, they have like 11 different names for snow, that we don't even have in America, because we don't even have all that snow, So AI can be trained on very specific emotions, but it can't at this point, nor do I really think in the next 5 years, and you can call me out on this, Higgsfield, if you want, but human emotion is something very specific, that then translates into body emotion, that translates into facial emotion, that then translates into a communication about feeling. So I don't think that there will be a future where humans won't be making films, etc. And there will always be, just like the old films, you know, people love black and white films. Some people don't like black and white films. There will always be people who love real human films. That to say, though, that synthetic AI or synthetic humans haven't passed the uncanny valley aspect at this point. We have passed that valley. And there's an app, you can check it out. It's called Reels AI. They have completely synthetic generated people that are doing short dramas. And their latest short drama, which is called Five Brothers, made it into the top 30. It's the 30 position of the global short drama rankings. That means they're making millions. Okay, now compared to human generated, let's say, short dramas, position 30 is not really good, right? But they're climbing up, and they notice that their users are no longer talking about like whether or not the characters are synthetic looking, etc. They're talking about the story. So they have clearly gone over the uncanny valley into the story aspect. And what Reels AI is finding out, because they have a whole platform, is that they need actors, they need the directors to create the short dramas using the AI, because they understand human emotion. And it's all about human emotion in the end. So that's not to say that in your short drama, as I mentioned before, you can't, or in your feature film, you can't save on your budget of your epic car crash shots and so on and so forth, or, you know, that thunderbolt exploding from my hand, you know, with an epic scream, etc., special effects and so on. But I just feel that at this stage, also with the consistency factors and so on, what it comes down to is human emotion. And if you have generated any AI videos, you can count how many AI videos you have to generate before you get something that you like. And you have to surrender at some point control, right? Because even with the camera angles, still today, in my personal opinion, a cameraman can get a better effect and more variation with camera movement and creativity using a handheld camera than you can right now in a fully generated, prompted camera movement. That's what I have to say. Over to you, Higgsfield. I throw down the gauntlet.
I can jump in really fast and ask you when the movies were invented, when the first movie came out. Someone know? Yeah, yeah. When the first AI video comes out, year ago. So that's the thing, and I literally can't understand why people putting AI versus kind of classic approach or old approach. No, you should take like best from both worlds. And you're totally right about human emotions. That's true. But there are already certain technologies which will help to capture all your 14 types of crying. Oh, like, okay, or 14, 100, whatever, like any amount, and transfer them to AI. But you don't need to build a set. You don't need to light a set. You don't need to get 3 trucks of equipment. You just get in you with your wonderful performance in front of, I don't know, even black backdrop with, and everything else is AI generated. I can highly recommend you to check. I will say later a couple of movies that have been done. There are already SAG actors who were filmed in the AI short film. They created 20 minutes short film with SAG actors in 3 weeks, and they delivered the very great performance because performance was captured from real people. And you're trying to compare two uncomparable things. When you're getting the great crew with great, amazing, talented director, with amazing DOP, with gaffer who like build the best lights, with a stylist who picked the best, I know, outfit, with our director who picked the color of the couch or whatever, or like, and with a actor who delivered the best performance ever, you have a synergy. You have a synergy of the people, but in the same time, you need resources to make it happen. And you're comparing this piece of art, creation of art, with one person who's sitting in front of laptop with a lot of machine learning and a lot of developing behind it. And it's a single person. But if, like, not if, when we will be able to create collaborative software to work on this project with all entire crew, you will achieve the better results for sure. Because like I've been on the sets many times. I'm a real filmmaker. I love to work with camera. I love to work with actors. And I can tell you, I never met any genie who was dreaming to become a genie. Like never ever. They all been in film school. They all have a dozen of stories. They all want to tell them, but moving stands just paying their bills. Now with power of AI, you can spend a couple of $100 and you can create your visualization of your story. You can create previews. You can create a lot of wonderful things. So like I never comparing like old approach and new approach, because I truly believe that in the future, it's all about the story. It's all about or good movie or bad movie. And we are all professionals. We're all kind of producing this. People just don't pay attention. They all or like it or not. And it's how it happens with Disney. There was hell tons of illustrators. Then Pixar came. Then everything changed. But in the very end, after many years, we have only one Toy Story, only one Cars, something, and all the stuff that they made. Because it's all about the creative human behind it, even with AI. I saw a bunch of tech who are, okay, just drop your script, we will create it right away with everything. And in the end, you can see shit, sorry, but it's bad because you need human being with QA on very each stage. And if you know how to build this pipeline, if you have a right person who know how to operate this machine, it just elevate your skill. If you're given this kind of tool to the person who don't have imagination, who just don't know how to tell a story, who don't know like rules of editing and all this stuff, it never will be the same as in hands of professional. So that's why I never putting AI against real filming. And I'm a big fan of real filming. And I have my script of feature film that I will film for sure. I know exact camera which I will use, exact lenses, and all this stuff. But would I use AI to make it better? Yes, I will, because if I have a zombie scene and I can pay for 10 zombies, with power of AI, it can be thousands of zombies. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Max. Sampat, are you here with us?
Add to this?
Okay,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Add to this?
Uh,
Yeah.
Are you afraid?
So
As
as
in-
far as the human, yeah, as
Are-
far as the human aspect, yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, I have a question to you.
He wants to add to this.
Yeah,
Oh, yes, yes, please.
yeah. So just a small addition. So as far as the human aspect to the AI thing is concerned, I think working with AI is like working with a bunch of newcomers who have absolutely no idea about how a film is made. You have a new DOP, you have a new actor, you have a new, colorist, and all of that, a new editor, and you have to get it all together, and you have to tell them, you have to guide them how it is supposed to be done, right? So as an artist, as a creator, it is very, very important that you have one central human mind who is controlling this absolute newcomers who have no idea how the industry works, who have no idea how films are made. So, it is, you are as good as what you can imagine as a human being. So I don't think that human aspect to AI will ever go away, right? Because you really need to have that good direction. You have to have that good sensibility to even guide a machinery to do a certain task well. So AI needs to be directed really, really well. So I think it's more to do with that more than anything else. I think you have to understand the basics of filmmaking really well. And once your basics are clear as a director, then translating it into prompts and doing all those things in AI, that becomes a much more simpler process and a more effective process. So I think the human aspect of it will never go away. It is just that it has to be directed really well. So yeah, that's the addition that I wanted to make. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So from what I'm hearing, because my question was, as a filmmaker, are you afraid that one day you will wake up and there will be the full cinema just created in an eye, where the camera is already set, but you already sort of answered the question. However, if you have something to add, please.
No, I don't think I have that fear that one day I'll get up and everything would be automated, because at the end of the day, every human being requires that. So when you make something from the heart, it connects to the heart. And at the end of the day, it's really about connecting to the audience, right? So only a human part of that AI will also connect to the audience. It's not really about getting those cool images and machineries and all of that. It's not really about, it's not a series of cool images anyway, right? That's not in cinema, that's not in AI. You really have to, that soul has to come from the human touch. So I am not really afraid that one day everything will go away and everything would be mechanized. No, filmmaker's position is not going anywhere.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And another topic that I wanted to ask you guys about is how to protect yourself with AI, how to protect. Because right now, companies are buying voices, companies are buying faces, right? Of the real people to convert it to the AI. So how to manage that, if this is the question to you, if you can answer that.
So yeah, I have an answer to this as far as the protection is concerned. Yeah, am I audible? Sorry,
Yeah.
the live video and this one is a little lagging. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, one of the ways of protecting is using, so one, especially for actors, like it's a very, very legit fear that, a face of an actor or a voice of an actor can be really easily replicated in AI. So one thing for now, like what we have been doing here in India is that our contract and our clauses are really clear. When we are talking to an actor or when we are taking an actor for a particular cast, and we want a particular voice in AI, our contracts are getting really stringent in that respect. That we take that initiative of specifying that this part of this is the kind of work that we are going to synthesize using your original voice and face. There are also a lot of watermark tools that are available, which you should use. If you want, I can drop a link to all these tools that are available that you can actually use, and nobody can use your voice or your face without your permissions. So I think there's an app called Synth, which is by Google, which is a watermark app, which you can really use to protect yourself. So I think there are ways to do it. It needs to be a little more stringent, even in terms of the technical aspects of it. But having said so, there is a first step that people are taking towards it. And I think also with actors, a very good thing that I'm seeing, especially here in India, is that, for example, an actor can copyright a certain trait or a certain voice modulation. So, for example, we have great actors here who perform a certain kind of characters. Now, these characters can actually be copyrighted, right? So that a character cannot, an actor cannot be used as a character that he's playing in the film as it is in using AI. So there are some copyrights which especially actors are using these days to protect themselves from plagiarizing and for various purposes. So I think there is a step that everybody is taking. This is for the actor part. As far as the creation and visualization is concerned, I think IP is a really, really important aspect, IP and copyright. So whenever you're writing anything, just get it copyrighted, and you have various agencies who, with whom you can register your work. So I think till the time a written material is copyrighted, there's nothing really that can take nobody can take that away from you. So I think that's a very important step that you have to take as a creator, as a writer, to get your written material copyrighted. It's called literary work, So you have to get your literary work copyrighted. And as far as the actors are concerned, you really need to work on the watermark tools and all of that. So I think people have taken that first step, but it's still a long way to go. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So I would say, as an actor early on, simply because of my tech background, I have always had in all of my contracts, the clause of, the use of AI is strictly forbidden without my consent, etc. Now I have a 4-point rider, which is attached to any job that I do, whether it's game TVC or it's a movie or if it's a short drama or whatever it is. I always include that. And in the beginning, it was really funny because everybody thought I was a lot of mafang, and that means, difficulty. And all the other actors were like, oh, we don't sign contracts or we don't do things, And I was always a very stickler on this. But what's very interesting is that, now people come to me and they're like, can I have that AI writer, And so I think the traditional legal system is very sufficient right now for protecting against the misuse of your image. Another point that I'd like to make is that user data put into AI engines is really not useful. It's not the type of data that is really needed and the amount of data that is really needed to, basically someone else on the other side of the planet says generate a redhead and then my face would pop out. That's kind of not how it works, right? And again, all of this about, for example, the lawsuits that are happening, with your data was trained on our scripts and so on and so forth, right? The legal system is very competent to deal with all of that. And as he mentioned, if you are generating things, Google has an invisible QR code that can be embedded into things. And all of these new ways of protecting or alerting or bringing about the idea that how you want your data to be treated are very well established.
Thank you, Stacey. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I agree that the legal system and, any kind of contract that's presented, that as long as the actor knows what the intent is and that language is in the contract, they should absolutely be reading that and understanding, their legal team as well. And us as a production company, anything that needs to be stated legally is always included. So in terms of that production, it's very important that awareness is there and that the contracts have something where the actors are, aware and they're signing something that they do agree to. So,
and I believe it works on all stages, right? Like that, right? Not only actors should sign, check. Every single person who starts working in the cinema should check, read, and before signing anything.
I mean, one thing you have to be aware of is anytime you upload a photo to Meta, for example, or you posting, now Meta is using that data to train and there's no way to turn it off. So I think it really comes down to legislation and the platform's responsibility. I mean, I would love to hear, how does Higgsfield treat user uploaded data? What is written in your clauses? Who owns when I upload my face to your platform? Who owns that generated video in the end? And how do you handle the photo that I uploaded? Who retains the rights of that? I mean, that has been an ongoing thing throughout all of the platforms, you know, that you have to read their terms and conditions, and it's a dual-edged sword. Well, if I don't agree, then I can't use the platform, right? But if we put pressure on, you know, legislation, if we put it out there that, hey, Meta, we want the button that's like, you know, you can't use my data for training, and then humans actually go through the entire menu system because it'll be buried at the bottom of page 457, you know, and click that button and say, don't use my data. You know, those are the places that we need to get to with AI, but that's a larger scope of just data use in general and apps.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah,
Max.
people scared because they don't understand. There are principles how model trained, and Hicksville trained on certificated green data that helps us a lot. So all data that were used for training our model was paid for to the people who owned it. So that's, and one thing, have ever you upload something on YouTube? Probably,
Yeah.
So Google have it when you uploading it. So that's how they train their VO3. They scraped YouTube. Do you know how ByteDance trained their Cdance? They scraped all TikTok because they own TikTok. Guys, like, don't be paranoid. No one needs your appearance. Like, to be honest. And all big celebrities, their IP protected by their agencies, agents, etc., etc. And you know what? They're selling their appearance to participate in commercials, even without showing off on the sets. Nowadays, that's what's happening. They still get their paycheck because they are on certain type of recognition in this world. So the next question from you about who are owning the data. We are in Hicksville. We're putting all the responsibility on you. If you're putting photo of the celebrity and generating from this, it's your product and you take responsibility on this. We can do this for the users. It's like with anything, because it can be in hand of the good people, it can be in hand of the bad people. Like, I don't know, like gun, you know, someone can rob you, someone can protect you. So, and it's a really complicated, like, moral question. Yeah, it would be if like system will generate me or someone who looks like me. What the questions for the nature? Statistically, there are a fact that there are in this world minimum 7 humans from billions of people who look exactly like you, literally, because of nature. Who you will lawsuit in this case? So yeah, it's about usage of the system, and if people scared, they probably just don't understand how it works. We are not training our model on a data that's providing our customers. They're only consumers. They're like using technologies that we are providing to them. And if there are like big brands who are looking for something to even more protected, we have our special kind of sandboxes. For example, we were working with the car brand who have release of new car, and it was like under NDA. So we trained our model to be able to kind of produce this exact same car, but no one from our users were able to type, I don't know, new Audi or new BMW and get this model because it's separated from the main data.
Thank you so much.
I would like to say that the reality of the situation of AI is that it's a black box. People know that it works. We know how to build it. We know how to use it, but no one actually know why it works. And that's sort of the thing that's scary, right? Because if you don't know why it works like it works, then you really can't control it. And so that I think is the main issue, that there isn't any transparency. And it's not because I think people don't want to be transparent. It's simply a situation that we know how to build it, we know how to use it, but we don't know why it works. And that's just sort of the nature of it.
Mind if
Thank
I
you.
jump in?
Yes,
Can
yes,
I do a lot of consulting, and I often lead my sessions saying that I think this is a really emotional subject area, and it doesn't surprise me that we've probably spent the bulk of today talking about fear and things that are scary. I do think it's interesting that we're this scared of this technology, but most of us have been freely using Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. And by the way, those are free products, and those are billion-dollar corporations that are clearly very profitable off of free things that we've mostly derived a lot of value from. There's people that have built their entire businesses off of what Facebook did for them and what Instagram. So I encourage people to be educated and to ask questions. I just want to, I don't know if I'm ending the panel all of a sudden. I just thought I wanted to chime in. I do think curiosity is a really valuable, I don't know if it's an emotion, it's just a thing you can also do. And I think that's especially, at least what I came today's event for, is I'm seeing an industry on the rise. I see something really special that might be a lot of people's business in the next year or beyond. I think minimally you should be also adding curiosity. I think there's a lot of people that are really upset about some of these things. They should go form advocacy groups, and they are doing it. And I encourage them to do it. I think if your emotion remains scared and upset, then be a part of the solution that doesn't exist yet. But I think most of us are doing technology in a way that we're at some point giving up a little bit of this fear. I'm probably being listened to right now by most of the devices that I purchased and are sitting in my home in spite of me not owning an Alexa. But I've personally gone I'm giving up on that. I enter AI with a lot of curiosity. I do continue to say, I think it's important to look at your production pipelines, look at your creative iterations. What could it do for you? What might it allow you with less resources? I think most of us are living in a world with less resources. The budgets an independent documentary filmmaker used to bring is even smaller today. And I actually, when I think about like editing tools, whether it's we're talking a lot about generative AI. There's a whole bunch of other AI tools that have absolutely nothing to do with generating anything. For an independent filmmaker, these are gifts falling from the sky of ways to get more out of those tiny budgets that are showing up for them. So I want to honor what people are standing up for today, but I do want people to add some curiosity to what they're doing today.
Yeah, I love
Because-
the fact that in
I'm
the
so sorry,
Reels AI
Can you
app
turn
that they have the avatars of their characters, and that people can go and talk to the avatars that are in there. And we have apps in China, for example, Daoban, that have different characters that you can talk to. And I'm sure many of you have heard about, you know, a lot of emotional support. And I personally use AI for, you know, psychological, you know, analysis or insight, etc. Right? And I really love that in this Reels AI app that you can go and talk to the characters, and they continue the storyline, right? Beyond the short drama storyline, and the users can discuss with the primary characters, you know, why did you do this in this scene? And, you know, how come your mother is angry, or whatever it is that they want to know deeper in the storyline. And I think that's a wonderful use of AI agents, you know? And I recently participated in a short drama, shot it, called Daddy's Got Guns and Girls. And it's the first time with director Patty Ma that in the script I saw, you know, AI generated shot of car crash, you know, and AI generated shot of, you know, CIA agents swooping into the building. And it was built into the script. So that's why I mentioned many times before that short dramas are specifically in a unique and interesting position where they can leverage in this case, generated AI, to expand their storytelling. I want to go to space, you know? I love fantasy, you know? I'm going to shoot in a movie where I have to have thunderbolts rising from my hands, right? All of that would just be unaffordable if you had to CGI it and so on. But instead, they can just add this effect super, super easily to a person who's has nothing and no idea about how to even edit a video, right? Like the director can do it himself. I take my short dramas and I use AI Expand to create horizontal versions of them, and that's super interesting because then I can finally upload them to my IMDb, because IMDb is all, horizontal. And then pre-production, storyboarding, generating the PPT to pitch your film to investors are all absolutely incredible, time-saving ways to use AI. And I'm sure you have much more insight about that.
I think
Please
those are all
go.
great
I'm
tools. I was just going
I'm
to take.
I don't want to be
Don't feel
rude.
sorry.
I'm so sorry. We ran out of time, but I really encourage you, everybody, to whenever we have happy hour and whenever we have breaks, please come over to our speakers, talk to them, ask them all the questions that you are. Maybe we'll have more of them later. And thank you so much for being with us. Please applause our speakers today. Thank you.
advantages, and the one who just tries to copy the stories, not trying to reinvent in something. They probably in the nearest time they will start losing their position. So it seems like risking with the content because of market nowadays is very oversaturated with the same stories. Could probably one of the advantages to grow up for a company like Hillshort or other big players.
Thank you very much for the answer. I would like to ask you guys, what are the best ways to make money from the vertical content? Because I believe this is what a lot of people want to know, right? All of us need to pay bills. So if you have anything that you want to share with us. Maybe Brendan can start?
Yeah, I guess it kind of depends on where you're coming from to begin with. Obviously, if you're coming from the talent side, these things came to market at the exact same time that Hollywood, the contraction of Hollywood, which has been for years, actually kind of started to affect everybody, and everybody started to feel it. So on the talent side, whether it's writing, directing, acting, or just crew in general, I think just the opportunity is there to pay rent in ways that wasn't there 2 years ago. But if you're talking more of a how do you make money on this as a business model, as I think Anton just said, it's so saturated that the first instinct is, oh, we can do that. Like, you take a look at these things, you're like, oh, I can do that. Like, this doesn't seem complicated. And then very quickly, you kind of realize how saturated the market is. So that means, well, if I'm going to create something, it has to stand out, it has to be different. And then you realize, what's the actual business model behind this? And it's all about customer acquisition. It's very much a mobile gaming business model right now. We're in this sort of startup fast cash burn phase, even though most of the companies aren't startups, of just growth. And so it's a big money model. So I assume most people aren't going to have access to VC capital or have millions of dollars in the bank. So I would think the best way for most people in this space who are producers or creators or filmmakers is to make something and put it out into the world. If you're not already in the space, you haven't already written for one of the companies, you haven't directed something yet, then the advantage of breaking into the space is that it is a very affordable space to work in. You might have to call in favors, you might have to do the very indie model, but if you make something that shows that you can do this, even if it's just putting it on TikTok and getting a few million views, you can call one of these companies tomorrow and say, like, I can do this, look at this. So.
So, yes, Kelly, do you have?
In many ways, it does feel very similar to what I spent the bulk of my career doing, which is being an independent producer, independent feature producer. So my job is to go out, find stories, develop them, package them, find the financing, and then make them. And similar to what he was saying, that is the best way. Get out there, create something. I met somebody earlier who had a microdrama script, and he had attached 2 of the vertical stars that are in the space right now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds so much like what I have to do when I go out and I have an action script. Okay, here's my 20 action guys that I can get an international, pre-sale with. Got to put him in there, and then I got to find the director that fits it. So it's very similar in many ways now, because I'm seeing these independent projects pop up. And it's pretty cool. The other, thing that I always think about as a producer in the independent feature space, and now here, is IP. IP is everything, right? Like, if I used to go out and buy books, I would, meet up with literary managers and whatnot, and look at their roster, and I would buy books for a few years and shop those out and see what would work. This is a really cool romance space. Like, do you have any friends that write romance novels that you enjoy, that you feel could be adapted into a vertical screenplay? Try and get some IP. Gaming, I'm surprised we haven't talked more about gaming this week in general, because there's so much overlap with these spaces. And I have to believe that there's gaming companies out there trying to figure out what their next piece is going to be. But I think that IP is always going to be valuable, especially if you're looking to make real money down the line. So it's something to think of here as well.
I do have something to add. I mean, from the talent perspective, you know, a lot of talent, especially we come from an agency that never specialized in this. And we have a lot of actors that were like, oh, either I'm union and I can't work on it, or I don't think it's for me because maybe they have made us, yeah, an experience of not knowing, not understanding where it's at right now. But my only thought, and this is what I tell all of our actors, is if you can work in this space, you can pick the ones you want to do it. Because when that door closes, and it will one day, because it is so saturated, we're going to have those stars. And that's what we're seeing right now. Our stars are becoming stars in their own right. And even within our own agency, the other agents don't recognize them as what they are. Like, yeah, just like when social media came out, you ignored those influencers. So, you know, it's going to build.
I'd just like to add to that real quick. That's one thing that Hollywood as an industry has always been very bad at, is pivoting quickly or adapting quickly. It's a giant steamship that doesn't know how to stop and turn. It got its lunch eaten by Netflix, and that just destroyed their entire industry. So they're not really ready for. They're very aware, they're very interested, and they're very much investigating, but they commit capital to things until they feel like they know how to make money on it. And so that's where this opportunity in this space exists right now, until it sorts itself out, until some big players get into it, until there's an actual ecosystem right now, the Wild West. That's where I think a lot of the opportunity to make a living in this space.
But those
comes
big
from.
players are already here. The apps are coming in, they're starting. We're seeing on the casting side, we're like, who's this? What? And that's, you know, they're here.
So what if the market will be hit by the apps as what do you think the industry will be going downside, or maybe it will rise up? Anton? Just give us a moment, we don't hear you. Can you please?
Oh, now that's much better, yeah.
Okay. But Anton is not in the American market, so it won't be the question to him. Anton, I'm sorry, I will ask another question. Can you guys?
Yeah,
Any
I mean,
answer?
the American market, these are the people that are playing now are the experts, and everything else is just the imitation. So as long as they keep pivoting, as they start getting different viewers and try to capitalize on more, I think it's going to work, because we do see like Candy Jars coming in and getting a different audience, or different people are different apps are getting different audiences. So
Yeah, it's also, you know, first mover is always a huge advantage. Crazy Maple and Drama Box were really the first two real players in the space. And again, Crazy Maple's advantage isn't just being first mover, it's that they relied on actual creatives from this market to help them understand. And if you look at their app, and the reason people say that they're innovating or they're iterating in ways that others aren't, is that they don't have a big IP backer like a lot of the companies do. They don't have a pipeline of content that they can adapt. So they have to figure things out. And then since they have people from the local market, have some understandings about things, first one's doing a hockey romance. That's a no-brainer in this space. The space is soap operas. Hockey romance exploded 3-4 years ago on Book Talk. And it's like the fact that the app didn't have 3 hockey romances a year ago is kind of speaks to the blank space and understandings about the market that most of the companies have currently. Now, Drama Box saw how Crazy Maple was doing things, and they very quickly, just in this year, they scaled up to build a US content studio in the same way. And Candy Jar is from this market, so they have to do it the American way, right? So most of the apps are still not, because it costs a lot of money, right, to do that. And most of the apps, a lot of them have an IP pipeline from reading platforms in China or the English language version of reading platforms from China. And so they feel that they can make strategic calls based on the data they've got and previous existing IPs, and they don't need the current market understandings badly enough to do that. But that's why Crazy Maple, that's why almost certainly Drama Box, and that's, I would assume, you know, Candy Jar maybe doesn't have the marketing budgets, but they're probably gonna have the longevity that a lot of these other apps are not going to have. So they just know how to make content for this market.
When you know, right? Yeah. Do you know maybe what audience data is being processed to know what the next step in the vertical industry should be? Is it the trends who moved us forward, or there is something else and there is still for the art, not only what audience said?
Does anybody else want
Whoever, yeah. Anton.
Yeah, I guess I heard the question about the data, yes, and how it influenced on the on this whole market,
Yes.
right? Okay, well, to be honest, that is the biggest question for us. For example, in our pictures, where we were discussing a lot about whether this market has a chance to become something more than just lots of stories that are replacing each other in terms of plots. And the biggest, and we believe that probably this market will have a chance to become something more, to become an art, if it starts telling stories that matters, not just plots that we have already seen, but stories that matters. But right now we are on a stage when each of the players starting to get new viewers. So they are not fighting for the audience inside the market, they are fighting for the viewers to expand the market. And until they are doing this, I believe that, I assume that the art won't start here. And we will keep basing strictly on data.
Thank you for the answer.
If that was a question.
I mean, at least in terms of, Candy Dirt, we are a data-driven company, so, we're constantly looking the market is showing us, and we're also constantly reading reviews and comments that our audience members are giving us and surveys that they're taking, and all of that is hugely important at this point. But I also think that there is such a large untapped portion of society that doesn't even know verticals yet. Yes, this has boomed very quickly in America, particularly over the last 2 years, but there's a lot of people out there that we haven't captured yet. And I'm really interested personally in figuring out how do we get all of those people into the space, right? Because I'm an older millennial, so, and I wasn't a romance novel reader, so I am not the market. And all of my best friends are screenwriters and actors and directors in the studio system for the most part, because we all went to film school together. So they're not the market. But every now and then I'll test things out on them, or I'll send something that we made, and all of a sudden I've got two of my best guy friends like, wait a minute, I'm hooked on that. What is this, Charlotte and the Seven Frat Bros? What is this? Like, this is funny and fun. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, the rom-coms have been this space that has been dying in Hollywood, particularly over the last 10 years, right? Can't get that model correct to save their lives. And that's a desire that we know society and audiences want, right? So like, how do we capture that group? How do we bring those romances to this space in a way that society is craving, particularly here in America? So we are a data-driven company, but I am also an independent filmmaker, so art will always be important to me, and those elements I think do play a role into it. But yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a chicken and egg scenario with the data right now because it's so new, and the way the market happened was based on romance drama, so all the data is in romance drama. And the way that the show sold is a customer acquisition model that existed before the format existed, which basically mobile gaming, social media advertising. And in this market, the audience that is most engaged with content, discovering content on the most powerful ads platform in the world is older audiences. That Facebook skewed older. Instagram is less, Instagram and TikTok do great numbers for impressions, but they don't do great numbers for downloads and revenue. And so much of the reason that we're always talking about romance drama is the audience that likes that stuff just happens to be where the marketing was already going to be. And so that's where it started. And because of that, we don't have data on, we don't have data on young adult. We don't have a lot of data on, fans of anime or action or other genres. We all know from being in this market that there are a load of people that don't want romance drama content. They want whatever they like. So we all feel this giant white space to be had. The real blockade right now is that the business model of the industry, if you call it that, is this customer acquisition through Meta, essentially. So I think over 70% of all customers come through Meta platforms. And that means you're going to be getting an engaged audience from there, which means you're going to get an older skewing audience that likes certain things and not the other stuff. So at some point, somebody's going to make something that works for an older audience on that platform, whether it's a true crime type of show or a horror type of show or fantasy, which is where I would put my money right now. It's gonna happen, and it'll change the way that the platforms view themselves. One might say we're never doing that because it costs 3 times more, even though it works. And the next one might say like, well, we're behind the leaders. Let's just pivot and do only that. And then you'll find out there's an anime app, and you'll find out there's a horror app, and that's one of the ways this could all be unfolding.
Add something. I feel like the masses still do not know about this vertical space. So if that's happening, there's not enough people exploring what's there and then saying what they're missing or what they're wanting. I sit on the board for the Association of Talent Agencies. So I sit with all the agencies, CAA, UTA, WME, all the biggest ones. And we had a big event this summer, and the vertical space was not brought up. And about 2 months before that, like at the end of spring, I brought up, hey, how many of you guys know what these verticals are? And they hadn't even heard of them. They had not heard of them. And I quickly educated everybody, and they were like, oh, they're non-union, and forget it. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to just keep my mouth shut and keep doing what I'm doing. And now I know that those big players are now trying to hold meetings at Drama Box and Real Shorts and all that. But again, if they're not educating their talent, the word's just not getting out, because entertainment business, that's, it is getting out through Deadline, but it's not,
There is an ocean of opportunities of what I'm hearing. So we don't need to hesitate and just do. Future of the vertical, right? My last question from me, and then I would like audience to ask. With the super fast pacing industry, with not as huge budgets as for the horizontal ones, how do you think we should work so we don't lose on the quality and we're there?
I mean, I think the quality issue is a little bit about just the age of the industry. I don't know how many.
I'm not telling that it's bad. I'm telling that for 3 days we've been hearing that like
It can be better.
the schedule is super tight. You don't
Yeah.
have time. It's
Yeah,
bum, bum, bum.
but
like a soap opera.
if
It's
you-
like Tyler Perry.
Yeah, if you looked at what was being made the first 3-4 months that Real Shorts was putting things out, you would have assumed that nobody will ever engage with this content, right? And if you look at it today, you A/B them. Today it looks like Orson Welles made it compared to what they were putting out then, right? And so that quality is gonna incrementally increase as more and more people are making these things more and more. They're gonna find that everybody in these things that's local had never made one before, right? And so they didn't know, maybe how to shoot with 3 or 4 cameras at a time, or they didn't know how to take advantage of the vertical frame. They didn't realize like how often they were gonna have to be in close up or squeeze people together, all of those things. As those things, more people get more experience with just how to make them, quality is going to go up because the shoots are going to be better. People get more experience, and then also the format itself will dictate the quality. Like there's a reason why you literally just said it. There's a reason why soap operas are soap operas. It's because they're soapy, right? And so it's kind of supposed to not be cinematic. It's not to be Oscar-worthy performances. It's supposed to feel soapy. That's part of the attraction, right? And so once the format sort of and experience is sort of mature, you'll get the best versions of these things.
Thank you. Anybody want to add anything before we go to questions?
I mean,
Yeah, I've heard, sorry.
Yes, Anton.
That was the first time I heard the question, so I have an answer right now. Yeah, so I don't think that we should worry about losing the quality because I believe that the audience is always smarter than the creator, than any creator. If we start losing quality, then the audience will let us know and we'll start losing the whole market. So I believe that we don't have to think about this as an issue for the whole market. We should think, losing the quality. We should think about it as for our companies, because if we start losing the quality, then we will get out from the game. But the whole market, I don't think that we have such a problem and that we should ever have it.
Thank you so much. Ellie?
I was just going to say, Candy Jar, we care very deeply about quality. It's something that we feel sets us apart from some of our much larger competitors. We care about story. We care about continuity. We work with amazing DPs that play and bring, very visually artistic images come to life. We care about casting. I think chemistry reads are very important, especially as these are very much a romance-dominated space, and we're seeing most of these up-close shots and whatnot. So I like to feel that quality is something that we talk about, at least at Candy Jar, every single day with every new script or series that we put out. I grew up watching soap operas, so I actually love them. My mother was a stay-at-home mom, so like all my children, General Hospital, were in my house every single day, 5 days a week. But then as I got older, my taste changed, and then I see things on CW or Freeform like Riverdale, and to me those are also types of soap operas, but more nighttime and elevated with more special effects and different cinematography and whatnot. And that's kind of where I feel like Candy Jar is living right now, that more elevated space. We understand that stakes need to be high, and drama before trauma is how we like to put it. There's certain story tropes that we like to stay away from, and then there's some that we like to really lean into. But I think that it all starts with good storytelling and putting the right team together that's willing to play and try things, and that's where you start to find that elevation. So I think that the quality will only continue to grow. I don't see it declining.
I love that you had to say we care about continuity, because that says a lot about where this industry was a year ago and how much better people have gotten at it since then. That was a legitimate issue 2 years ago. You would watch this thing and it's like, why did the guy's haircut change in the middle of the scene?
True. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, please, Erwin.
Do any of you think that without losing the entertainment nature of the stories, there is room for including aspects that will inspire people to live a better life, to have more positive messages in the stories, again, without losing the fun entertainment aspect of it?
100%. Darman has been doing this since before Verticals were a thing. And that's kind of his whole angle on his content. And they're going to be doing Verticals pretty soon. They have to. He gets 300 million views a month or something like that on his YouTube content. So I can't imagine that they're going to go off brand and start making soapy Chinese romances when they've got exactly what you're saying they already make. So there's yes. Now, whether they can find the audience through the business model that exists currently is a different question, but the audience is out there.
So I was wondering in terms of quality and what makes something better. I was just having a conversation with Christian Branco, who directed my last vertical, defining what better is, because some of these kitschy things that we think are bad are actually what draw some people in. Elevated storylines might actually force people to pay more attention when really they have it as like background shows. So how do you guys deal with that as you're trying to elevate the material? Do you find that when you're making more elevated material that you're losing some fan base based on the data, or are you finding that it's being replaced with new fans? And do you think that it's a good idea to try and change what's working?
I know there's one app right now that's going to be announcing in a couple weeks that it's coming out, and it's from a well-known writer in the television space. And I was like, oh, we're finally going to get this content. And he's like, oh, no. We're doing soapy, and then this. Soapy, then this, because they know that's what draws the audiences. And as you said that, I know any of the ones that I've had to watch for my clients, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to watch it for my client. Okay, I'll watch another episode. It's an escape. So we can't take away that, It's the same as, a casting director came out to me. He's like, oh, listen to this storyline. And it was like, this person marries this and then has the baby from the unwed. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's your next one? He goes, no, that's Young and the Restless. Like, it's been around. That's what we do.
So I have a question for Anton. I'm going to try and talk loudly for him. He's producing in Kyiv, and I'm curious, having just been in Europe for a couple of weeks, and it was great, but it is all chopped up with language. You're in Ukraine. Are you producing for the Ukrainian market, for the European market, in all those languages? Does it change what you're doing compared to all these US-based, Los Angeles-based creators? What shows work for you and the audiences you're trying to reach?
Well, if I understood your question correctly, yes, we have. I will give a little bit of context. We have around like 20 production units across the globe, but 13 of them are based in Kyiv, in Ukraine. And most of our hits, most of our top performers were produced specifically in Ukraine, in Kyiv, mostly with Ukrainian actors. Now we start working with European and American actors who travel to Kyiv, who are ready to travel to Kyiv, but still most of the actors are Ukrainian. And even if they have these European accents, we are trying to reach US audiences. And we always have this like topic, which with each new client, we started discussing that. We started hearing from any new client that, oh, that should be an issue, that your actors don't speak like very fluent English and they have accent, but still we are having a very good data, which our big partners like Real Short and others share with us, and we see that we reach US audiences the most.
Question for anyone who would like to answer it. Just curious. Imagine a future where 10 years from now, Netflix, Disney, everyone is now making verticals. What does that future look like, and what kind of conversations are we having?
The future looks expensive. I think, the big players are dipping their in ways to test and see if this is a real business. I know that, what's his name? Not Ted, the other guy at Netflix, doesn't think it's a real business model. That's the podcast he was on recently. Yet, we don't know what that means. There's people making lots of money in this space. It's a business model. I think what it means is, from an industry that's used to doing corporate deals for billions of dollars and releasing films that can make, $300-400 million in profit. This doesn't look like a business model to them. But if it goes in that direction, I think what you're talking about is there'll still be apps that do the soapy, I don't want to say lowbrow, but the lo-fi version, and there'll be apps that do premium content, and it's going to probably be very different audiences that have different desires for what they want. If there's a market out there for those major players to really be in the space.
My question will be SAG or no SAG? Because like there's
I
still
mean, they
not-
have to be, right?
You
You can't
would-
be a signatory and do non-union stuff.
But like even the new Fox app is doing non-union, all non-union, and all the ones that we're
Tubi?
seeing, they're all non-union.
Is that Tubi?
No, it's the new Fox app coming out.
Oh, they're
in,
super,
in,
they're super active.
February
Yeah.
by Fox.
By the way,
Um,
Tubi's doing what verticals are doing, but for TVs right now.
And they're
So-
all non-union. I think we've seen like 2 union verticals, but we've talked to SAG and the contract that they're working out isn't what's good. So, I mean, if they continue not doing it and it takes over the market like this, because these move so fast, SAG can't keep up with that either. And if it does that, I mean, 100 movies a week are being filmed, right? Then what's going to happen to the union? I'm just curious,
I mean,
right?
Tyler Perry does that.
He
Sure
does.
does.
He absolutely does.
Sure does.
He needs an app.
He does. I'm also interested to see just how some of these, bigger streaming players and whatnot, if they do all get involved, if all of these models will be the same. Will they all just be apps with different series to click on and, scroll through like we used to do in person at Blockbuster? Or, are they going to monetize on it in different ways? Like there's a lot of, I'm surprised I haven't seen more do much shorter stories that are like a glimpse into a world, and in order to continue that, then you got to tune in for the movie that's going to premiere a month from now on the actual television station and whatnot, or used more just for trailers specifically that highlight something that's going to be going into the theaters, or more choose your own adventure style things, or perhaps there's a story that's very popular, on Hallmark or whatnot, and within the story, there's flashbacks to when they were younger. What if there's a vertical that tells their story when they were younger, but you can only watch it if you go to this app or if you go to their website. So I'm just curious to see how the vertical space expands in terms of how we actually offer the content. You raised the question in an earlier panel in terms of, do we think this subscription model would change, or like can episodes be longer than a minute or 2 minutes or whatnot? And I think that there's a whole world to play within there that I have to imagine some of the streamers that are all saying they want to get in this game. They're having these conversations.
But even like Paramount, when they took Mean Girls and chopped it up and eliminated scenes and showed it, I mean, they had, I don't remember the exact statistics, but it was a crazy amount of views, more than I understand that there was in the actual movie initially from vertical. And it made the movie a lot shorter because they cut out all the fluff, but it was watched. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll do that.
One of the things that really kind of gets mentioned is that the format exists because user behaviors
Yes.
are what they are because technology has evolved in certain ways. TikTok has evolved user behaviors. It was inevitable that narrative fiction would somehow get woven into that at some point, and this is where it's at. So as technologies evolve, the behaviors evolve, and this is true of every form of entertainment. The lower the friction, the more adoption there will be. So if that's popping up by algorithm in people's feeds, it's gonna and it's entertaining. It's gonna get a ton of views, even if the real thing already exists somewhere, right? So it's as much about user behaviors as it is about storytelling, about
Yes.
quality, about any of that stuff. And so that's one of the things that's when you bring in new talent, because everybody's new talent at some point in this space, helping them understand that from a backwards engineering standpoint of we're making these based on this type of user that wants this type of thing and uses it this type of way. It's not it's a format, it's not TV, it's not film, it's a new thing. And so that's a big part of the learning curve of bringing people in from film, TV, Hollywood in general.
I'm sorry, but this will be the last question. The time short, please.
Hi, my name is Loy. I'm an old actor, so most of the people I work with are dead now. Yeah. So, but, and I have so many facets of my question. I've loved this space. I'm diving back in after being out of it for 38 years. So this space has been super exciting because I felt when I first watched, I don't know if there was ever, my question is, has there been any studies on what the target market, what the age group of what people are going in? Because I'm 64. And when I first watched these, I was just absolutely mesmerized and so excited about where it was going. And I didn't know very much about it at all. So what my question, I'm so this lady here, is that going to be an open door for people, me, who are older, getting into the space and don't want to be union? Because I've been in, well, when I was in SEG, this is when it was two different entities, you know, not like that's how long ago it was. So I like this, that it's non-union. Now with all these Hollywood coming in, which is an older, they're used to the old school ways, you know, and that's probably why they're not diving into it, because they're used to the big screen and they want to put their money in that, and they're not sure. So if the Hollywood, is this the goal or idea that you want more involvement with that? And if it's, and to go union, or somebody like me who's just coming into the space and would like to get casted because I'm a typical, you know, tiny person that's younger. Those two or three questions in there. I apologize. I was trying to get everything into one.
Lots of good questions in there. You know, in terms of the unions, I was telling somebody earlier, before I entered this space, which was only late last year, as an independent feature producer, I had only worked with unions. Every movie I'd ever made in project and every actor I had cast was a union actor. So this was like a totally different space that I was jumping into. But there's talent everywhere. So I, you know, in my mind, for me, is like, I'd love to just open the pool up to even more. And that goes for not just actors, but, you know, there's crew and whatnot that I would love to be working with in this space. That all being said, I still think it all just comes down to the money and the budgets and whatnot. And if we keep our budgets at the size that they're at, then these unions are going to have to meet us where we are. And I don't foresee that happening. So it's a yes and no. There's also elements of, you know, about the unions that are a pain in the ass that I used to deal with all the time that I don't deal with now. So, you know, it's a twofold. I know everybody's really curious about when the unions are going to enter this space. And there's all sorts of rumors about like, oh, this meeting took place in the studio. I don't think we're as close as people think we are. And I think that there's been a lot of attention on this space, sadly, because the market is terrible right now and work is so grim that they're having to look at us in a way that I don't think they would if TV was booming right now in town. Really why I think those rumors and whatnot have spread more, but you know, I don't exactly know where that space will go. Yeah.
And help that the successful shows do make tens of millions of dollars. That's where the sort of hiccup is because as the industry is structured right now, it's platforms putting out many shows. So they're spreading their costs across many shows where if you look at the show by show average, they're not making hundreds of millions. If you look at just their hits, it's like, well, this company must be making $1 billion this year. They can pay for union. They can afford unions. They can afford union crews. And I mean, if this was a perfect world, we would be working with union crews and we would be standardized in ways that protect workers' safety and all that kind of stuff. But this is really the Wild West right now, and it's going to keep evolving until either it's all AI or it's union or it's, you know, a combination of everything depending on the audiences. You know, there's going to be a premium audience. There's going to be a founded on Facebook. There's going to be, you know, it's going to be a very fractured ecosystem, essentially. That's basically just the world we live in now with technology.
You have about 95% of our actors on our TV and film roster are union, and that means they can't work on these. So we've had to go into our commercial roster, and lo and behold, we have people that are making more money now on that side than our SAG actors. So one of our film agents just asked me on the way in, what are you going to do when they're complaining that they're not getting any residuals? Said, well, probably the same thing that everybody did with Netflix for years until it hit and we struck, and now here we are. But the answer is these people are working and they're not having to bartend. And are they getting the best deal? Right now, they're getting the only deal. It's what's there. So I think as it's more saturated and people become more accustomed to making their daily rate, which we have people making, you know, $1,000 to $1,500 a day for our good leads that are solid. That's not a bad payday for an actor. Is it a series regular? No, but it's better than bartending, right? So eventually, I think it's going to cap and people are going to get upset, want profit sharing. And then at that point, you know, they'll do what they're going to do. And then maybe the next group will just come in and phase them out, you know?
We'll all have brain implants watching content in our heads at that point.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you. And on this positive note, we will finish our panel. Thank you, everybody, for your attention. Yes, thank you, speakers.
Thank you.